Hello, hello! Welcome to another episode of History in the Dark. I am your host, Darkness the Curse. And before we begin, as always, thank you so much to my generous patrons, my British rail critics, and of course, my underwater train finders. You are the reason why this content remains chaotic. Yes, we'll go with that. And today, we are going to discuss trains that decided it was a really good idea to choose chaos, madness, unstoppable anarchy was on display for them on these various points in history. These are 5 trains that chose chaos. Like I said, I already said the title. I probably could have phrased things better. Listen, I'm doing my best here. Don't you get mad at me. It hurts my feelings. The Belgian Runaway of 2016. It was sitting at the platform at Landen, which is east of Brussels. At the time, the train's driver had left the cab unattended while he tried to investigate an issue that he was experiencing with the train's motor. But when he did this, the train decided it was time to move. Whether he was there or not was irrelevant. It was gonna move without him. And it did. For nearly 30 minutes, the train set traveled onwards with no one at the controls. It managed to travel for a total of 12 kilometers, or 7.5 miles, and that doesn't sound like a lot, because it isn't. And that's because, for whatever reason, the train was moving extremely slowly. I still haven't quite nailed down exactly what caused it, as I'm not even sure they ever did, though I believe the issue may have something to do with the engine system. The system was old. The models they were using were made in the 80s, so it may have been an outdated fault or something. Perhaps they nailed it down, perhaps not, but none of the news media who reported on it actually specify what it was. How did they stop it, though? Oh, well, it was moving so slow that another engineer was actually able to climb onto it while it was moving and bring it to a stop. So fortunately, there was nothing terrible that happened. There was no loss of infrastructure and no casualties. So that is one good end to this otherwise amusing situation. The Indian Runaway train of 2017. Oh, this is a fun story, straight out of an action movie, real talk. So this occurred at Wadi station in Kalaburagi, which is in India. At that particular station, that's where the lines transition from electric to non-electric. There are no overhead wires in that area, so it's normal practice to switch out the locomotive. They can't use the electric locomotives on non-electrified lines, and they use a diesel instead. However, something went wrong. Whether the driver forgot to set the brakes, or something else. Either way, the electric locomotive was really offended at the notion that it wasn't going to be used. Not that they could have, but it took it very personally that day. And it decided that it was going to run away. Bye. Almost as soon as the driver stepped out of the locomotive, he looked on in horror as the engine took off without him. Wadi station authorities immediately informed all the stations in front of it to clear the signals and tracks to avert an accident. And the engine carried on, moving at about 30 kilometers an hour. They wound up catching it. How, you ask? On a motorcycle. Apparently the Wadi station manager, J.N. Paris, and the locomotive driver set off on a motorcycle. They chased it down for nearly 20 minutes, and eventually the locomotive's driver was able to climb onto it and bring it to a halt. There's no word on exactly why this locomotive ran away either, and the authorities out there have actually been pretty quiet about the reasoning, so it almost makes me wonder if it may have been a lack of maintenance or something like that that caused the issue. But either way, no one died, and there was no accident again, so it was just another amusing, if not awesome situation. Just because someone chased down on a motorcycle, I mean, that is frickin' legendary. Props to them. The Chester General rail crash. This one, if you couldn't guess by the name, actually did result in an accident, and it took place on the railways operated by me. Though, to be fair, the accident really wasn't British Rail's fault. They had policies in place specifically to avoid this kind of incident. They were just ignored by the employees. This was a legitimate human error accident. On the 8th of May 1972, a freight train that consisted of 38 wagons, 5 of which were tank cars that had kerosene, petrol, and gas oil inside of them, were being pulled by a Class 24 diesel locomotive, number 5028. When the train was approaching Chester Station, which was actually called Chester General back then, but whatever, same place, on a downhill slope, the driver discovered that the brakes, weren't actually working at all. The train just carried on. Like, there was no problem at all. Like, this was fine. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it ran past a signal that was set at danger, and through a set of points that were set for the number 11 bay platform. That's where a fortunately empty DMU was sitting. The driver couldn't do anything about this. The brakes were gone, so he bailed when the train was going at about 20 miles per hour and landed on the platform, and he would survive. The train, on the other end, slammed into that DMU and completely destroyed one of the coaches. The second coach was actually torn off its bogies and thrown onto the platform, where it demolished the refreshment room wall. The tank cars on the freight train burst open and caught fire, resulting in an inferno that wouldn't be put out until the following day. But, believe it or not, no one died during this incident. First of all, there were very few people in the station at the time of the accident. Second of all, the fire brigade were actually based very close to the station, and they arrived within a couple of minutes. Their quick actions were able to get people away from the blaze and keep it under control, not spreading beyond the station. So no human lives were lost during what could have easily been an incident where that exact thing happened, although both trains were lost. Class 24 number 5028 was scrapped, as was the DMU. As for what caused this particular bout of unspeakable madness, well, it was the brakes, but it wasn't due to any mechanical fault. Like I said, it was human error. The brakes that were equipped on this particular train were vacuum brakes, but the pipes that the brakes actually need to, function, weren't connected. The train had actually run unbraked from Ellesmere Port, but there was no downslope during that situation, so it got away with it. When it stopped at Helsby, where it needed to reverse, the guard had forgotten to connect the vacuum pipes when the locomotive coupled to the opposite end of the train. As a result, the extra braking power that the train would desperately need on a downward slope near Chester wasn't there. Also, the driver had also screwed up, as he didn't carry out a brake test before he departed. This is something he should have done, absolutely, and he would have noticed a problem immediately had he actually done that. He didn't, and it's just fortunate that nobody died as a result of several people not doing their jobs properly. The Crazy Eights incident. Now, I know I have a standalone video about this incident on the channel already, but not a lot of people watched it, which makes me sad, but I kind of can't avoid it. I mean, this is one of the quintessential stories of trains choosing chaos. It's literally called Crazy Eights. Locomotive is known as Crazy Eights. Sometimes I call it Quadra Eights, but whatever. The point is, I couldn't ignore this story again. I'll give you an abridged version, though, and if you want to go see my more detailed video about the incident, feel free. This incident involved a CSX freight train, and happened on May 15th, 2001. The locomotive, number 8888, was an SD40-2, a legendary type of EMD-built diesel, and it was pulling a train of 47 cars, including some that were loaded with molten phenol, a very hazardous chemical, violently toxic. At the time, the engineer was using Crazy Eights to move a string of freight cars, but he noticed a misaligned switch on the path. He felt he didn't have enough time to actually stop the train before hitting that misaligned switch. So instead of waiting for the train to stop to actually get out, he got out while the train was still moving. But before he did that, he set the independent brake, as well as the dynamic brake. Under normal circumstances, that should have stopped the train. It didn't. The locomotive plowed on, and in fact, got faster. Why was it getting faster, though? Well, that's because he messed up setting the dynamic. The dynamic brake uses kinetic energy to drive the traction motors and generates electricity. It can use it in reverse and slow the train down. but the dynamic braking system and the accelerator are technically the same lever. In order to use it for braking, you have to set a separate lever to switch it to dynamic braking. He didn't complete that selection process, so instead of turning on the dynamic brakes, he put it into full acceleration. Now the independent was on, but that wasn't going to be enough to overcome the thrust of the engine, and worse still, because the independent was on, it disabled the dead man switch. So Crazy 8 went off on its own with no driver and at full throttle. Eventually, it burned away the independent brakes because, well, they were trying to stop a train that had no intention of doing that, and it got faster and faster. And it traveled for nearly 65 miles, 105 kilometers, through northwest Ohio. There were many different attempts to try to get it to stop. They tried derailing it, but they just threw that off the rail, so that didn't work. Then, local police actually shot at the locomotive, which is very American of them. They were trying to hit the fuel cutoff switch that's near the fuel tank, but due to this SD40-2 being a former Conrail unit, that button actually has to be pressed down for several seconds before it actually works. So they never really had a chance to make this happen. Also, they were aiming at the red cap on the fuel tank, not the button. Also, you're shooting at a fuel tank. Now, in realistic terms, this is diesel fuel. They probably had no chance of actually causing it to ignite. But still, really, that was your plan? Okay, alright guys. Eventually, a northbound freight train actually had to be put into a siding to allow Crazy 8s through. And CSX number 8392, which was another SD40-2, waited for Crazy 8s to pass. Then 8392 gave chase to the runaway train. They coupled to the back of it and used their own brakes to slow it down. They managed to get it down to about 11 miles per hour, and at that point CSX trainmaster John Hosfeld managed to run alongside of the train and climb on board to shut it off. The story is still legendary among rail fans due to its, well, unique situation, and also it's nice to know that nobody actually died during these events. The incident was used as the basis for the movie Unstoppable, in case you've seen that, or if you haven't, you should. I actually really like that movie. And as for Crazy 8s, well, she's technically still around, but not in the same form. CSX refused a lot of offers to buy her for preservation, as they felt she was not worthy of it. Which is just them being cowards, if you ask me, but that's just my opinion. Eventually, she was converted into an SD40-3, and she got a new number, 4389. But inside, she's still Crazy 8s, and she's waiting for her chance at chaos again. But what could top that story? Crazy 8s is legendary. Well, this next one, I mean, well, we've talked about this one before too. The GG1 that plowed into Union Station. Sometimes just called the 1953 Pennsylvania Railroad train wreck, this incident, I would argue in some ways, outdoes Crazy 8s because A, it involves a pretty major accident at a pretty major station. Also, nobody died, which is still incredible. The incident happened on January 15th, 1953. A passenger and mail train was traveling from Boston to Washington, D.C. It was known as the Federal, operated by the Pennsylvania Railroad, and was pulled by a legendary GG1, number 4876. The train consisted of coaches and Pullman sleeping cars, 16 in total. The train departed Boston at 11 p.m. and made 2 stops along the way. The actual accident didn't happen until its final destination at Union Station in Washington, D.C. When the train left Baltimore, it accelerated to 80 miles per hour, or 130 kilometers per hour. That was normal. But what wasn't normal was that as the train neared Landover, Maryland, the engineer, Henry W. Brower, tried to slow it down for its approach into the stub-ended tracks of Washington, but the train only slowed down to 60 miles per hour, 97 kilometers per hour. Brower, alarmed, turned on the emergency brakes, but this only brought it down to 50 miles per hour, or 80 kilometers per hour. In desperation, he put the engine into reverse, which is usually the final course of action for any engineer trying to stop a train. The physics don't really allow for this necessarily to work, but he really didn't have any other option. But as luck would have it, or bad luck would have it, the electric engine malfunctioned due to the stress that was being put upon it. Sparks flew from the wheels of the engine and the first 3 coaches, because they were the only parts of the train that actually had their brakes applied. The train descended a 5,500 foot or 1,700 meter long section of track that was on a steep down slope. This made the train accelerate, and Brower could have ditched at this point, but he chose to ride out the accident. He laid on the horn, warning people in front of the train of the emergency. John Feeney had set the switches to route the Federal onto track 16, but when the train raced past him, clearly going way too fast, he telephoned the station master's office. The clerk, Ray Klopp, picked up the phone, and Feeney alerted him that there was a runaway on track 16. Klopp looked out the window to see the train racing directly towards his office, and then he shouted, "Run for your lives!" Everyone bailed out of the room, with just 20 seconds to get out of harm's way. The conductor aboard the train, Thomas J. Murphy, ran through the train from end to end and shouted at the passengers to get down as low as they could, on the floor or on their seats. When it hit the terminal, the Federal was moving at about 35 miles per hour, or 56 kilometers per hour. It crashed through the buffer, through the station master's office, then demolished a newsstand. Due to the weight of a GG1 on a floor not designed for it, it crashed into the basement of Union Station. There were 43 injuries, but like I said, incredibly, no one was killed. The warning given from the tower operator had alerted the clerks to get out of the way, and most of the workers in the basement had just departed for their coffee break. This alone spared their lives. And engineer Henry W. Brower and his firemen on board GG1 4876 were just fine. They walked away from the accident despite being in the locomotive. As for what caused it, it was due to a design flaw with the coaches. The coaches had weird overhangs, and the air brakes could be stopped by using an angle cock system. The angle cocks on the air hoses could actually bump into the coaches during normal operation. As a result, at some point, the one attached to the rear of the third coach was shut. This meant that the train didn't have braking power in any of the cars past the third coach, and that was not nearly enough to stop it. Though, again, fortunately, no one was killed during this incident, and that includes the locomotive. 4876 is still around. She's in storage at the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum, though looking pretty rough, all things considered. That's not due to the accident. She was actually repaired after that. That's due to sitting outside for so long. Currently, there's no plans for restoration, which frankly I think she deserves it, because that's a legendary story if ever there was one. To run away, crash into Union Station, fall into the basement, not kill anybody, and survive? I mean, come on. At least give her a new paint job, I'm just saying. And with that, a special thank you to all my underwater train finders. Thomas Ward, Lord Captain Von Thrust III, Some Dude 267, Orange Glass, Joshua Long, Ohio Trucker 1, Royal Husband 2860, Lord Hoth 444, Arthur Roy, Benjamin Owens, Painter Kitchen 131-232, Mr. Black Rose, DM Tribal Typhoon, Master of None, Josh Johnson, Lockcracken, Twin Fox, Dimeblade 17, Anzac A1, Alaric Draspers, Tommy Rossini, Jack Carson's Railroad Videos, and Ty Hammonds Jr. Till next time, this is Darkness, individual fond, farewell.